Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm delighted to be part of the Rainbow Festival. I'm really quite overwhelmed with the wonderful response and the work which Sharif has done in such a short time. Very timely, very important, and I think in today's present times, being inclusive in our social systems makes it even more timely to have this wonderful Rainbow Festival. I'm going to be actually talking from the point of view a little bit of art history, because way back in 1994, when many of you were not even born, I had done my doctoral work on Ardhanarishvara in Indian art, thought and literature, with a special reference to sculpture. Getting a postdoc fellowship, going to Goldsmiths College in 2000, my doctoral work turned into a cultural studies kind of reading of the image of Ardhanarishvara, and what emerged was this book. And this book, the cover image of this book is very telling in itself and very popular. In fact, Dilip Mehta told me I would never have this as a cover image. I would have preferred a traditional image of Shiva Shakti right there. But since I wanted to talk of Ardhanarishvara as a cultural construct, it was important to see two people in the festival. This is from the festival of Aravan, which was shot by this photographer called Anita Khemka, who had shot this whole thing where gay marriages happen even today. Now, I'm going to begin by reading a little something from my book, and then I'm going to show a very brief presentation. I'm going to talk of how the word androgynous happened, because I called my book Ardhanarishvara, the androgyne, probing the gender within. So I looked at the etymology of the word andre, which means man, guna, which means woman, and the stone image of the androgynous Ardhanarishvara becomes the point from which I take off. I also would like to bring in here the concept of the American pop star Ziggy Stardust as an acceptable androgyne. But what happens when we come across a man with breasts, a modern implant, or through hormone therapy, and the latter is not accepted as a real phenomena, but is a morphological woman with male sex organs or a male with a vagina equally acceptable? Now, through the book, I attempted to explore the development and dynamics of this concept from the sacred to the profane, from the physiological to the psychological and the philosophical, from the constructed to the living, and it has posed innumerable questions and challenges for the interpretation, which are like a mosaic of images. Now, because we are looking at, could you just wait for this PPT? I'll tell you when to start. I want to also look at the whole concept of the androgyne as the Ardhanarishvara god, which comes in from our mythology, and I want to bring it from the point of view of actual images in stone, in wood, lot of chariots. You will see them even in the temples at Khajuraho. So I'm actually going to trace a little bit of the Ardhanarishvara image which is in Indian art, and you'll be surprised to know that after the Nataraj image, the image of the Ardhanarishvara, the Lord who is half man, Ardha Nari Ishvara, Ardhanari, which is woman, the Lord who is half woman, and generally the right side is the woman and the left side is the man. That is why, the right side is the man and the left side is a woman when you look at it, when you look at the image. And that is why they always say that in any religious ceremony, the woman sits on the left side. But there is also the Shakts, the Shakti concepts, the people who believe in the primeval energy of the woman, where the woman is actually on the left side, and that is known as the Vamachari Pratha. But before that, I want to read a beautiful Haragauri Shatakam by Adi Shankaracharya. In fact, Devdutt had started the whole concept in the morning in an interesting way, talking about the myth of the Kinnars, the Ardhanarishvars. But I'm going to come in through mainstream art. I'm going to come in through mainstream Hindu Brahmanical thought of Ardhanarishvar, where there is a lovely shlok in Sanskrit where he says, Kasturi Chandam Lepan Yayayi Samanam Bhasmagam Vilepanaya Satakundal Yai Fani Kundala Yai Namo Shivai Cha Namo Shivai. The one who is in the form of Gauri has covered one half of her body till the navel in sandalwood paste, and the other half in the form of Hara with ashes from the Shamshan. The one who has a Manohara Kundala, beautiful earring in one ear, and wrapped with a Sarpa Kundal or the snake around another ear, to that Shiva, female Shivani, and to that male Hara I bow down to. So whether it is in the Western theory of creation, that of Adam and Eve, the Indian construct of Purush and Prakriti, man and woman, or the Chinese concept of yin and yang, the very core of civilization stems from the concept of the union of the male and female, each complementing the other. Now, I also want to talk of one aspect of Ardhanarishwar, which is without desire, sans desire. In the morning, Devdutt had shown you Kama, which is the Lord of desire, but I am here talking of Ardhanarishwar, which goes on to a very important concept that it exists without desire. The manifestation is a complete form, a single unity. Shiva let his Shakti power be apprehended separately by both himself and Brahma. The body of fire, of which erotic pleasure is the spark, was divided. The great goddess sent her glowing ardour in the form of a woman to the world of gods. Thus, from Ardhanarishwar's self-division came the essential of a woman, sex and sexuality, and that is how duality came into the world. I can actually go on. I've done a whole, and my book is available for those who want to know more about it. But here now, I want to show you the continuum. I want to show you how the Ardhanarishwar concept is still present in today's living culture, in an inclusive society where there is transgenderism, where there is transvestism, where there is transformations, and where there is gender bending and cross-dressing happening, also for pleasure and also as part of an essential condition of life itself. Now this is an image, this is an Ardhanarishwar image from Jhalawar in Rajasthan, where you see a very, very clear demarcation of the woman on the left and the man on the right in this image, and all the attributes of the man and the woman are very, very clearly identified. This is what our sthapatis, what our Shilpa Shastras would do in these images, very clearly based on the canons. Now I want to show you an artist, Mumbai born Jayashree Abhichandani, who shows image of a Mumbai drag queen, which she called Javed in New York, wearing platform heels with a mobile phone in one hand, walking down an avenue in Manhattan. And what you see here is a man, a woman trapped in a man's body, and here you see a most beautiful woman who's actually in a physiological body of a man. Next, please. I also want to show you another image of Ardhanarishvara, which is here what you see, that was a digitally produced image. Here what you see is in the myth of Aravani, the transgendered male body is painted like that of Krishna, and you see the Krishna feather. You see the feather, which is an icon of Krishna, which is shown beautifully in this, where in the myth of the Aravan, it is said, there's a whole story about it, how, before he was going to be killed, Anirudh, he had to be married, and who would marry him, that all is in my book. But just to show you that how the myths are existing even today, and the rituals of these myths are being executed today. Next, please. Now here you see that sexual preferences and identity are about acceptance, and this acceptance is not really guided by gender norms and rules. The transgendered body, he is, painting his body in blue, again like that of Krishna, and here he is dressing up as Krishna to woo his male lover. Next, please. Next image. Now this is a typical popular image from a calendar, which you can see anywhere. This is following the norms and canons of Hindu Brahmanical thought, of Shiva, of Shakti, people who are Shaivites, people who belong to the Vamachari Pratha. And here you see the icon of Durga near the Devi. You see the Nandi near Krishna. You see him with his Trishul. You see the Devi with her lotus, with her Utpala. And look at the Sarpa in the hair. Everything, the icons are that what you see, what I read out to you earlier in Adi Shankaracharya's Stotra. So this is a complete perfect vertical delineation, and if you look at the myth of hermaphrodite, you will see a horizontal. It is only in Indian thought that it is a syncretic image, it is a composite image where the coming together of man and woman is so organically done. Next, please. Next image. Now, next, please. The next image. Yeah. Now, here is this image of the Draupadi, which is shown in the in a South Indian ritual in Karnataka. And here Draupadi is shown as a very strong woman having her carnal desires. This is all part of our Pauranic parampara, our itihasas, which are not written and canonized, but which come down through generations. And what is interesting in Indian thought is the concept of dhwani, suggested meanings. So there are multiple meanings for single things, and the nazariya, or the way of looking, or the gaze, is different for everybody. Next, please. Now this is a beautiful image. When I was doing the book, I had asked a friend of mine to do me an exhibition on the androgyne, and what he created was part of, if you look at the Bhakti Marg, there is this whole concept of Sakhi Bhav, where you always worship God. He's always male, and you worship him in the bhakti. Whether you read bhakti poetry, or you read anything, or you read the padams, whatever, with the sahitya of bhakti, even for dance, the voice is that of a female. So God is a man and the bhakta is a female. So what you see, what has Viren Tanwar done? He has transformed himself, the male, into a female worshipper, And in the process, as he's worshipping, you see his arousal as a male, and you see an erect penis here. Next, please. Now, this is again very, very interesting. These are, the hijras or the Tritriya Prakriti is very much part of even in the Kama Sutra. So, what you see, the third gender, is a very, very important part. And you see here the imagery of queerness and straightness in this image. And you see a beautiful kind of a wooing of a man who is not ashamed of his hairy chest. Next, please. And here what I'm going to show you is a woman who is now dressed as a male, because she's not ashamed of her masculinity. And this is a photographer called Indu Antony. She's dressed as Jack Sparrow, the fictional character of the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. She lives in Bangalore, and this was an exhibition just done 4 years ago, which I saw in Bangalore, and I found this image extremely bold, and I've used it in my book called Body Sutra. Next, please. Now here is another image. This is at the time of Shivaratri, where there is a gender duality associated with Shiva. Again, as Ardhanarishvara, as the comment or the motif of the Ardhanarishvara, where there is there's a man in me and a woman in you. Anybody, you get up one day feeling very, the attributes, you say male is powerful. Doesn't mean that woman is not. It's that there is a difference. It's the Derridian difference that we play with. Next. Now this is again a very, very interesting, again done by Indu Antony. The woman dresses up as a coconut seller, and what does she do? She brings the body posture, standing with her legs apart in a very, very typical male kind of thing. And here this is a gender crossing, bender crossing, again from female to male. Next please. Yeah. Now, actually, this is one of my last images. I'm just going to have one more. Here it is Raju. His other alias name is Simran. Here you see, and he's a koti. In the morning, Devdutt was talking of kotis. Now this is a koti who is actually dressing up as a woman, and the bra is a very significant part of the attire of the kotis. They identify the bra with the femininity, with becoming female. So here that you see him dressing up, and this is again Anita Khemka, who's done a huge documentation of the festival of Aravan. Now I want to conclude with the Alis, the kotis and the Alis. Here are the Alis getting dressed for the annual Kothandavur Aravan festival. From the transformation of a woman to a beautifully adorned man to woman is absolutely mesmeric. And this is how I want to end my presentation, saying that the concept of Ardhanarishvara, or the present queering of identities, is very much part and parcel of our Indian cultural identities. And our identities, as I say, because we are a lot about itihasa, we are a lot about received wisdom. We don't really, unlike the West, we are not very much about dating and putting things down on paper. That's why we had a Kautilya's Arthashastra and Megasthenes wrote his Indica. We are different. We are different people. We think differently. We are emotional. We are emotive people. There is a lot of rasa amongst us, and that is why what I wanted to say was this inclusive queer festival. And I'm not hagiographing our past or deifying our past, but I'm talking of Indic wisdom, where we were always an inclusive society, where different conditionings of heterosexuals, gay, queer identities was already a part and parcel of our social landscapes and cultural landscapes. Thank you very much.